Okay.
All right. Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everybody, depending on where you're joining from in the world. I'm going to wait just a few more minutes to see if anybody else is joining. So while we're waiting, why don't we all put into the chat where we're joining the meeting from today? And I'll start us off. I am in Sanford, Michigan, where it is currently 40-some degrees and snowing.
Oh, cool.
2 days ago, it was 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Today, it's 40.
Okay.
So that's a little crazy.
Now I had to know what 40 means in
yeah, not Celsius. No, that would be pretty hot, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I know that. I can tell you it's 34 degrees here and it's 10 o'clock at evening. That's, yes. That's 34 Celsius.
Okay. Wow. Cool.
A little bit different.
Look at the background. Look at the background. This is awesome. We have matching.
Yeah, he's got another great background here.
Yeah, that's a real background. I know we already talked, and I saw this background from Jasper some time ago. He's the real expert. In my background is a virtual one, but that's where I grew up. So it really exists. So if you could join me, we could go into the
fake,
dungeons.
Isn't it your grandpa's electronics room or something?
My father's, yeah. But the equipment is there's some of the devices that are 50, 60 years old.
Yeah, that's cool.
With preheating the tubes so that the oscillators are stable and so. But they work. Yeah, that's Rohde and Schwarz. They are not bad. And these
like
times,
you go and then you turn them on and then you go get a coffee and. It's kind of like when I push the 3D PCB in Fusion, then I do it and then I go and get a coffee.
That's true. Yeah, a long time ago.
Why don't we jump right in here and get started, since I think
let's see.
The trickle in has slowed down a little bit. So welcome everybody to this community conversation. My name is Chris and I'm going to be your host in the background today. My pleasure to welcome Richard and Jorge, and they're going to be taking all your questions about fusion electronics today. So, for those of us that are joining just for the first time, a little bit about our series here. Okay, that was good. So community conversations are virtual meetups featuring expert speakers from across the community. All experience levels are welcome, and we always we hope that you will check out our calendar and see about upcoming events and join us for more. We do this one approximately every month at the same time with these two guys, and they are excellent hosts. So our safe harbor statement, we always put this up on the screen at the beginning just to say that if any forward-looking statements are made during the session today, please do not use anything as a guide to purchasing software. Look at the state the software is in today and today only when you're making your decisions. Nothing that we say in this session can be taken as a guarantee of or a promise of future enhancements. So most of you, I guess I can't say this for sure, everybody's not muted, but we usually mute the lines and ask people to either use the chat or raise your hand. But with this small of a group, I think we can say just go ahead and jump right in with your questions if you have one. We are recording the session, and a link to the recording will be emailed to everyone after the session has been completed. So with that, let's let Richard and Jorge introduce themselves real quick, and I'll let them take over the session. Go ahead, Richard.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Jean. So, yeah, welcome to our, I think it's the third Ask Me Anything about Electronics
this time.
Happy to be here, happy to see some faces. I know Joachim, I know Jasper. I did not talk to Claire, and I think I didn't talk to Jose before, but yes, so great to have you here. Where should I begin? I'm in Autodesk doing all around fusion electronics. So I came with the Eagle acquisition. Meanwhile, it's 6 years ago, and well, we try to train people what electronics can do, not only you as our customers, also our guys here in Autodesk, because, you know, we have big mechanical centered. We have mainly many mechanical centered people here, and of course we have to train them and learn them what electronics is about, and what we do. And you guys and we think totally different than a mechanical guy would do. So that's the two worlds come together here, and so that's the reason why I'm here, and that's what I'm doing. And Jorge is also a long-time colleague. He also joined with Autodesk coming from CADsoft, now with me here at Autodesk. Jorge, you would like to introduce yourself, I guess?
Hi, everyone. So thank you again for taking the time to be here with us. Again, like Richard was saying, we came into Autodesk in 2016 when CADsoft was acquired from Premier Farnell. But prior to that, I had already been with CADsoft a few years. It's about 2010, 2011. So in total, it's been close to 11 or 12 years working with Eagle, working now with Fusion Electronics. And our goal is just to make this the best tool it can be, to address the needs of our customers, to be able to help, because customers aren't just on the outside of Autodesk. A lot of the time we're also trying to sell inside, make other Autodeskers aware of what electronics is, why it's important. So having your feedback helps us do that as well. So thank you for joining, and feel free to ask any questions. Chris already gave us a green light with a safe harbor statement, so we know we can say pretty much anything at this point.
Yes, so yeah, right. If you have questions, we can just jump into them. If it's a small group now, I could ask you what you think. I've prepared a few slides about what's new in Fusion Electronics. We had a pretty good and big release for electronics in March. So I could just go into the topics, would take, I think, 5 to 7, 8 minutes. If you would like to see this, we can do it. If you say, no, we want to discuss this and then that, then of course we can do it, whatever you prefer. So I see you, okay, nobody's really reacting on, okay, I start and ask something. So let me share my screen, and I give you a small, short overview on what we have in our March release. So I want to share this one. Let me try it. Okay, I say share. I hope you see, okay, you see the Autodesk background. Then we need the, where is it? This one. Okay, what's new in March? So that's it. So let me just give you a short overview. We have all the topics, one slide. We have a new library experience with the Place Component Panel and an enhanced library manager. There is an option to import Eagle libraries now. So if you're coming from Eagle, going into Fusion, starting this for the first time, we have Tinkercad library. We have the support of design blocks, performance boost for 3D PCBs with a lot of drills, and in general, new templates for the package generator. We have PDF support for the CAM export, and yes, the align command is exposed in the schematic. So these are things that are new. Just let me go to the first slide. So yeah, the components panel, I don't know if you have already seen it, and if you've worked maybe with new Fusion, with the new Fusion release. The Eagle user, the add command. Where the panel comes, you can choose components and so on. So that's something we reworked a bit. So it's a totally new experience. We have a component panel. It stays on the place where usually the design manager is. You see it here, left-hand side. You see a preview of the components immediately. So you select one, you see the preview, you get other information, you see the variants, the package variants, and can choose them, and then just drag it into the schematic or double click on it and place it. And of course, with this, we also have better search functionality. If you remember Eagle, if you search for something and you do not know the exact name, you have to type in asterisk, some letters, asterisk, to get a result. Here it's much easier. You type in some the search algorithm changed, and it's easier to find something. And the same as well. Here you see the library manager. I have filter options where I say, okay, is it in use or not in use? What do I search for? Where do I search for a library? On library.io, which is the repository for all the libraries coming with Eagle. You have access to them, of course, your Fusion team storage, and you can also search for libraries on your local disk. So it's much easier to find components. And of course, from here, you also start the library editor. So everything in one place. You just, if you don't want to see this panel, just collapse it. So I think it's quite nice and much easier to use as the add dialog was. I think that's the big one. Then another one is, I already mentioned it, the library importer for Eagle libraries. So if you start Fusion for the first time, you get this message from the Eagle library importer, would you like to import your Eagle libraries? And then you can select, yes, I want to. And so they will be imported into a Fusion environment. They are available, and you can go on working with the libraries you're used to use with Eagle. No worries. So it's the original installation in Eagle is not affected. So nothing changes there. So if you want to try it out. There's no effect on Eagle. So if you decide, okay, I want to work with Eagle again, there are no changes, so nothing happens. The only limitation at the moment is it's just for Windows PC users. Mac users do not have this at the moment. We will get, I don't know when it will come, but we will have it later this year. Okay, design blocks. Yeah, you know design blocks from Eagle maybe. That's something you can have a part of a schematic or a board stored as a so-called design block. So if you want to reuse a design, think of, I don't know, some filter setting, a filter group, or a power supply you have designed, and you want to use it again in your new project. Now you have the option to bring in the design blocks into Fusion Electronics as well. So that's a missing, this was a missing feature compared to Eagle. Now we have it. It's the first phase. At the moment, you can, I say, just consume the design blocks. You do not have a preview at the moment, and you're not able to edit a design block. So if you remember Eagle, you have the design block, there's an editor, you can change something. That's not possible at the moment. You have to, just consume them and use them. But we have a new feature added to this. You could also bring in a whole schematic. So there's you have seen insert schematic also. If you go into the PCB, you could insert your board. So that's an additional option we have there. And the next one, push to 3D PCB. Okay, if you go from the 2D PCB into 3D, that's also something, we missed this compared to Eagle. Now we have this preview, and you can see if there is a 3D package assigned or not. Now, you immediately see it, and you see if it's a yellow exclamation mark, you see, okay, no 3D package assigned. Then I don't have to push it. I can go back and say, okay, I want to assign the 3D model if I want to. And so I have control on what I push. And we have some improvements in performance. So it's, the boards, it does not take as long as you're used to. Have to wait for it. So it's, for some boards, it's much faster. So especially boards with a lot of drills, we can have, depending on the board, improvements to about 75% quicker than it was before. In an average, I would say, it's maybe 25% quicker as it was before. So that's the average, I think. There's more to come performance-wise at the moment. These are the first steps we see in Fusion Electronics. And then we have the package generator. That's library related, of course. We added some new templates in the DFN package. Now you can have rounded soldering pads. That's not only the rectangle one. You can decide and say, okay, I want to have a rounded one. And the second one, we recently introduced the sockets here. And we have a second option now where we change the pad shape and the lead shape. It could be square now. So we have the dual leaf dip sockets available. They look like this here. That's another variant of sockets for your sockets. Other one, yeah, Tinkercad. I don't know if you know Tinkercad. It's really a very convenient, simple, easy to use tool where you do electronics on a breadboard, but you could simulate this. So imagine you have a battery, you have some wires, you have two LEDs, you have a switch. You could see the LEDs blinking and so on. And now, if you, Tinkercad has an option now to send files to Fusion. And that's for us, of course, it's great to bring in Tinkercad users. And therefore, we added a library, a Tinkercad library, which has the components the Tinkercad user is used to. So it's actually, you see the same components, and maybe that's an incentive for Tinkercad users to stay in Fusion and go on, because of course capabilities in Fusion are, there are more capabilities to design electronics, of course. Quite an interesting connection, I guess. And then the last point, I think it's about the CAM export. We support PDF now as an output data format. Think of images, or you do a documentation, you have some information, and usually you had to print it, go into the PCB editor, use print it into PDF. Now we have the option to export PDF with the CAM processor. So you configure your CAM job, click process job, and then you get all the documentation and manufacturing files you need. So that's pretty, I guess that's all what I have at the moment. Is there anything else? Let me check. No, okay. So that's it from the March update. So these are the big topics, some smaller ones, of course, therein. So you have seen what I showed you. Maybe you already worked with it. Do you have comments? Do you have questions about this?
There was one question in the chat that got added. Our 3D CAD files are often very large. Is there a way to make them smaller?
This one came from Joaquim, right?
Joaquim, yes.
Yep.
So Joaquim, could you elaborate a bit more on that? If we can open up his mic, or if he can open up his mic.
If you wanna talk, you could.
If you want to talk. Könnt ihr mich hören? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I think for me the question is clear. Also we have very complex electronic designs at the moment, and if you convert them to a step or to the normal Fusion CAD format, they are very big and very slow to import. And in the later design, they are very big as well. So everything is going slow then. Right? So the question is there any possibility, any conversion to step or to other things to make them smaller so that this will work a little bit better?
So as far as I know, there isn't, because it's using just the step models that are in the libraries. As far as I know, there isn't any mechanism to make them smaller or to compress them. But what we could do is, if you're willing to share the file, I can pass that on. We can pass that on to the developers, and they can investigate what they can do performance-wise for it. Yeah, because it sounds like it's big board. How many components do you have, Joaquim? If you had to guess, how many components and traces? Your mic is off now again.
I have to have a look at it. I can't say it at the moment, but I will send you. It's a possibility to send you this design, and then you can have a look on it. What we can do. I normally convert it to how to say, into this mechanical format, so it's not longer in a electronic design. That helps a little bit, but the guys from the mechanical department often are not so amused about this, the use of this design.
I
There's one
guess
thing you can do, which I found out when I had a 160 megabyte file that took 30 minutes to export. That is if you use that option for, let me just switch over so I can see my Fusion. When you push the 3D PCB, you use the
solder
what is
mask
that
option.
one? 3D PCB with canvases. That makes a huge difference. I went from 30 minutes to just push up 3D PCB down to 4 or 5. And the file was substantially smaller. I mean, that file I generated, I couldn't open it in any tools because they all had a limit of 30 megabyte or something.
Uh-huh.
And
yeah,
I can export my whole CNC machine. It's much smaller than that.
Yeah, that's a good point. So you could, if you create the 3D PCB, you could check the option traces as canvases or something like this. So the traces are a simple image, so you don't have all the details of the traces, and this helps in decreasing the size of the files. That's true. Yeah.
There's also another benefit actually that it will actually display the board more correct than if you don't. If you don't push that option, you'll get all kinds of weird errors with text, and you know that, Richard. We talked about that before. If you use that, click that option, you will get a much better PCB, better looking, not so many errors.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Thank you,
Try it. Joachim, try it, and if it's you can compare, and if it's too big, then reach out to me or to Joachim. Then we can really pass this on to one of the dev guys and have a look.
Okay, I promised to present you that for a reviewing of this design. This is my first design in Fusion, and I would be very happy if you can have a look on it.
Yes. Okay. We will do. I see definitely an expert and really guessing here, but Adobe used to be able to reduce file sizes. I think this won't help here, Claire, because it's not an image. I think Adobe can't handle the file format we export there. Maybe if it's just a drawing, yes, but we can't export 3D PDF, I guess. No, I don't think so. So it's really a mechanical data format that's good idea, but doesn't help.
Are you saying you can or cannot put a PDF into Fusion?
You can maybe use it as a background, but we don't import the 3D PDF, because I know Adobe does have a 3D PDF format. Fusion doesn't support it yet, but it can be used as like for tracing purposes. Some customers like to import an image of something and then they just kind of trace over it for a certain feature, for a certain enclosure dimension or something like that. Those workflows are supported, but not the 3D PDF yet.
Okay, I didn't even know they had a 3D PDF. Thank you.
It's rare. It's not common. I've only run into it twice in the time I've been dealing with electronics.
Not very often used. That's true. Yeah. Okay. Anything else you would like to ask? Jesper, you're muted.
You're muted, Jesper. You gotta open up your mic, man.
No? Maybe I clicked it myself. I don't know. There we go. You had this presentation before, and you had this very nice picture of the missing 3D packages, which was actually the fiducials. I don't know if you've seen that. I think George was involved in that discussion that if you make a footprint in the board editor, and even if you add a 3D package or not, it doesn't matter. It will say that there's a missing 3D package. And I know Yukui have been looking at that, and that is something you really need to fix, because there isn't a missing 3D package. There shouldn't be any.
Yes.
So I don't know how we should solve that, because of course you would like to have a warning if there really isn't a package. But
so we've been talking with XD about this, Jesper, since you brought it up. And what we're looking to do is, because there are many types of footprints that don't need a 3D model.
Exactly.
Reduce holes, mounting holes. test pads, PCB antennas, things like that. So what we're looking to do, and so far the discussion has been with XD to determine what the experience will be. But the idea is that in the library, you can specify this device or this footprint doesn't need a 3D model. So don't even.
Perfect. Yeah.
Right.
And then it won't, in that situation, it won't even generate the default rectangle, which you don't need.
Yeah, that's, of course, you don't want that. You want
Yeah.
a clear PCB without that.
Yeah.
So that's being worked on. We're hoping to get that addressed actually pretty soon because it's a relatively easy thing to do.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so we're really in the progress. And Chris said in the beginning, we can tell you what we want because you, the safe harbor statement allows us to tell you whatever it is. Actually, yeah, we're really working on this, and we will see a solution soon, I guess. So if there's nothing really serious happening in the next time, then we will have an option to really define and say in the library or wherever it is, this footprint does not have a 3D package, and then all is good.
That would be
especially
great.
for, yeah, as Jorge said, for fiducials, whatever it is, then we can define it. Or it would also, just thinking aloud, it would also be nice to maybe you have a design ready, a PCB, and it would be nice to have an option in the board where say, okay, I don't want to see a 3D model for this special component.
Yeah.
Why not having something like right click on it and say no 3D, the option we have now, add a custom 3D model.
Yeah.
And there I could also imagine, or I think that would be convenient to have an option there to say no model.
Would
So
be,
there
but
are
not
options, and
not instead of the other one, because if you have like fiducials or mounting holes, you don't want to go and do that for each one. So
yeah, right.
While I'm saying something, let me just comment on this with the place component dialog. The new one is actually a lot better than we had before, of course. But there are two major problems, I think. One is that you cannot see the description. I don't use it, even if it's pretty nice. I always use the add instead in the command line to get the old Eagle style, where I can see the description of the components and everything. I know I can search the description, and that is a little funny because you have the filter for what you can search, and you can change the columns for what you can view, but it's not the same. It's two different things. So that is a little confusing there. It would be very nice to be able to have the description coming up there. And another thing, when you choose something from that dialog, it would be great if you could remember the last variant you picked for a component. When I go and pick a resistor, I have about 150 components or variants before I come down to 0402, which is the one I'm using. And every time I select, if I'm not just copying in the schematic, I have to scroll down that list, pick up that 0402 every time. And that is not just that. That is almost everything in Fusion is not persistent. The layers dialog, when that comes up, smack right in front of everything I'm doing, instead of over there to the left where I had it before. And many other things like that, dialogues, the lists and everything. The add dialog often comes up, so I see like 3 characters of the device name, and then there's the 2 other columns. But that depends, of course, of how wide I have made that add component dialog is called, right? Yeah, so I normally have it relatively small, but then it comes up and kind of hide that. It would be nice if I had moved the columns to something and maybe even rearrange the order, that it will remember that. So next time it'll stay the same.
Yes.
So that's part of.
Go on, Trey.
Yeah, so that has actually already been reported to the developer of the place component panel to be aware of it, and he has it for his phase 2 to both, I think, both the description and to have it remember what was last used. But I think that's going to be also probably resolved pretty soon as well. As far as the general docking of panels and things like that, there's been a lot of work. As it turns out, Fusion doesn't have any type of infrastructure built into it originally to deal with panels and docking. but a lot of work has been done on that front, and that should bear fruit shortly. So it'll get to what we hope to do is to be able to do what you could do at Eagle, where you could put the inspector, the design manager, all of that together and just tab it in the panel and not have it picking up all this real estate. So that's where we're headed towards. It's actually been a harder thing than originally we thought, because Fusion doesn't have any consideration initially for panels. So we kind of had to roll that ourselves.
Right.
I think there is maybe a problem there with the way the electronics are working compared to how Fusion is working with the normal 3D design, because I've been using that a lot and made many things that it works absolutely beautiful. And then you come over to electronics and you just rip your hair out daily, because there's so many problems and weird issues that many are because it doesn't really fit together the same way. The things you can do in a 3D Fusion doesn't really work when you get over into the electronics. But of course, you have to try to get it to work so it will work together. I think that's where there is a kind of a little conflict there.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be a process, and again, initially we were trying to put in, a completely different program into Fusion, something that's never been done before. So there is some growing pains there, but overall it's worked out a lot better than, at this point we're a lot further along than I think we thought we were going to be. Okay. So I think as time progresses, that'll continue to
improve. Frightening.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So, do you? I'm just curious now, because there is one new feature about the design blocks. Have you ever used the design blocks, or do you use design reuse? So take it this way. Have you worked maybe in Eagle before and have some design blocks you now could bring in? Is this something you're really working with?
I had design blocks in Eagle, and I actually just picked out one from Eagle, and not actually, well, it was a design, and I just marked one, made a design block in Eagle, and went to Fusion and imported it. Worked fine, actually. I was surprised.
Sometimes we tend to surprise people.
So it works fine, it seems.
Even in the positive way, not only in the negative way.
It worked fine.
I see, Joachim wrote, okay, you're also using them. Okay, as I said, at the moment you can just consume them, so you can bring them in and work with them, but we will add more functionality to really have a preview and also can edit them. I think it won't be exactly the same way as it is in Eagle at the moment. It will be a little bit better, I guess. So there's some ideas what we could do, and yeah, there we have to wait a bit. I don't know, but I think it's also not too far away because we are already working on this. So who knows? Oh yes, you already have forgotten how Eagle works. Actually, for me, it's the same. If I have to go into Eagle and try something, I worked with it for 25 years or nearly 30 years now. And now you go in and it's crazy. You're used to use Fusion now. And then you search for commands. Where are they? And then, I can't do this or that. Oh yes, that's only in Fusion. So, and I guess with the time going on this year, I always was very hesitant to recommend somebody go from Eagle to Fusion, because if you're doing serious work, then I always be hesitant and say, okay, it's difficult to switch a system, you're used to it. But if I see the roadmap that I won't share with you at the moment, if I see the roadmap for this year, I think we will come to a point where we really can say, okay, now go for Fusion. Because we are coming to a state where we support all the features Eagle has, and we have a lot of additional stuff what Eagle does not have. And we are working my and your problems, Jasper. We talked a long time about performance problems and all the stuff. That's something.
We'll have it, even worse
Yeah,
now.
but we are getting better. It takes its time. It's not. It can't be fast enough. I'm sure it can't be fast enough.
I don't know if you read, but it's not fast enough. I don't know if you read the last comments on the forum of Fabrici Paris also, which also happens to run in a Mac.
Yeah.
The last few updates, it's been slower and slower. And it is kind of like what happened in Eagle from version 9.2 to 9.4. You did something. And that something made Eagle unusable on a Mac from 9.2 to 9.4. But this is not the same. But on Eagle, it was that when you moved the cursor around, the component was going over here.
Yes.
So
Right.
there was an enormous lag. What happens now is that you can move stuff around super quick, no problem. And then you route a line and everything moves around. And when you click that last click to make it connect, it will take 2 seconds before it says ding.
Okay.
And that is on a not very big board. And it's the same in the schematic. When I wrote a net, draw new net, it's fast, no problem. But as soon as I click where it's supposed to go, I get a super delay.
Okay.
And that is something you have to fix. It makes it unusable.
Actually, I do not notice
that out.
But
it's only on the map.
I can make a screencast for you, I guess, with that, because then you can see that enormous delay.
I don't want to go into a support session now. What's the Mac you have? No. But what's the Mac you're working with? Is it a MacBook or what is it?
No. It's a big iMac.
Okay.
It's not a slow machine. It's not the last one, but it's pretty fast, and it does everything else. And as I say there, it's not the drawing of stuff, or everything is super smooth, and I can see when if I really push the track to make it push away violators, it will flip them all over the place and back again super quick, no problem at all. But as soon as I go to click that last one to do the connection, then I don't know, something happens. It have to calculate something if that's really right or whatever it's doing internally. I have no idea. But that takes enormous long time, both in board and schematic.
I know a similar problem in Eagle 20 years ago. That was in schematics, where you draw, if you have a big schematic and you draw a net, and then you want to drop or connect it with another net. And then you had to wait for, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 seconds, depending on the size of the schematic. And this was the reason, because when you drop the net, then you had to check all the other nets about connections. And maybe that's something that
it's something like
similar
that
happening here in Fusion. But yeah, okay, we will look into this. And if you don't mind,
it's something to do with my board size also. It wasn't. It's not happening on a small board. It's when there's many wires, many nets. Then it happens.
Yeah, maybe. If you don't mind, Jasper, and you have a bit of time, if you want to share a screencast, would be great. So we have something to show it to our dev team.
I already shared the files with Yuki and Helen, I think, but I can do a screencast so you actually see how it is on my machine.
Okay.
I did a screencast the other day, and the problem with screencast is that also mess up things. So I did something for 5 seconds, and then I clicked export 3D PCB, and 35 minutes later, it actually did it, and then there was the last 10 seconds of the screencast.
Okay. Okay, I hope I will find a dev guy who has time to watch 35 minutes or seconds.
No, that was a special one. This is,
No.
I will make a shorter one.
Okay, cool.
Right.
No worries. Okay, good. Okay, yeah. Okay, cool.
I don't know if Claire wanted to mention something. I know she has her mic open.
It's not really that I need to mention anything, but I'm really a beginner in this conversation and have had little exposure to even Fusion itself. And I'm just trying to understand where you're coming from. Are you sounds like you're still in the development process a little bit, but I'm not certain as far as adding the electronics versions to 360 since 2016. Maybe I misunderstood that, but do you have a large group of people that are working with this, and are they, I shouldn't say just, but do you have like vendors, like energy people that are working on photovoltaics and wind and wave energy generation or anything like that going on?
Okay.
Or is it small vendors that are trying to make it work for the things that they got already in process from a long, you're still really molding the product?
Got it. So just to clarify, CADSoft, which is Eagle, was acquired in 2016,
Okay.
but that technology came into Fusion only 2 years ago.
Okay.
So we're taking, basically the idea is to take the best parts of Eagle, put it into Fusion, so that Fusion can become a one-stop shop. It can do the mechanical, it can do the electronics, and you have that synergy of going backwards and forwards between the two domains. So that way, if a component is moved, you can make sure there isn't a collision on the mechanical side. Or if something happens mechanically that now requires the board to be adjusted, that you can see that in real time and not have to be going through an email chain with multiple, engineers. So that's the goal. As far as the industry you're mentioning, power electronics, photovoltaics, I worked in that prior to working at Autodesk. So I do have some familiarity with that. Most of our customer base, and I'm going to include the Eagle customer base in this, usually revolves around like one-man shops, small companies. We also have pockets within large companies. So like R&D teams tend to like using the software just because it's faster, doesn't have a lot of setup overhead. So that's kind of the customers that we've historically been serving. Now the idea with Fusion and being able to bring everything and turn Fusion into a platform, the idea is that it can cover more ground and that it can be a viable solution for bigger corporations. I don't know where you fit in that spectrum, but as of right now, that's what there is, and there are many people who do power electronics inside of Eagle and inside of Fusion. So if you ever go to the forums and you post, you'll get answers about different electrical concepts or things that maybe you need to consider in your own designs.
Yeah.
I have kind of left, I would say, an industry that used a lot of Autodesk, AutoCAD, and they had a program called Line Design Pro for an electrical utility. A completely different situation, obviously, that didn't have to do with Autodesk at all. They stopped using, well, they didn't want to use Autodesk for their program and they were doing line connections, right? They were doing virtual line connections. They didn't want to use Autodesk, and this is what they told me, because it was getting hacked so much. It was so user friendly at the time. This is many years ago now, right? I worked with the electrical utility 2005 through 2015, and I was told at the beginning they didn't want to use Autodesk for this kind of situation, and they brought this Line Design Pro program into their electrical utility because Autodesk was too hackable. The AutoCAD program was too hackable. I guess AutoCAD had started to work with that industry, the electrical utility industry, but they were having too many problems. So anyways, they adopted this program called Line Design Pro, which was somewhat amazing, but puzzling too. It had workarounds that we had to do a lot, but it was supposed to be like this panacea. I mean, not panacea, the thing that cures all of everything that everybody wanted, right? Similar to what you're talking about, you would move something and obviously everything else would see it, and you would have documentation on, well, what was put where exactly and what exactly changed and all that kind of stuff, and export it into a map system. Very amazing thing, but often there were things that were super puzzling, and if a connection couldn't be made right, the whole thing might have to be redone. Things like that would happen a lot. So what you're talking about is interesting to me. And I've been out of working with AutoCAD for a while, kind of wondering if I should get back into it. I really do need to find some work. And it's a challenging thing to think about. So that's why I've been kind of exploring these community conversations and listening to people and trying to figure out if there is a place for me to be in this industry at all.
So
Similar things, you know, similar industries. I like drafting a lot. I grew up doing that.
So I guess the first thing to clarify, and this is something that comes up pretty often. There is the electrical realm, and then there's electronics. So where you draw the line is in the case of Fusion 360, we're doing electronics. So that's basically, if you look at your phone, inside of it, there's a printed circuit board. That's the industry that all of this is kind of tailored around. The electrical industry, now we're looking at putting these larger pieces of equipment together. So you're doing wiring diagrams, things like what you're mentioning now. So that market is served more by AutoCAD Electrical. So if that's something that you really want to look at, AutoCAD Electrical really addresses that. It's taking, you know, motor controllers, taking large equipment and interconnecting all of that in the most efficient way possible and making the different wiring diagrams. So that's where the distinction. I sometimes refer to it as electronics is the micro level, electrical is the macro, where you take all these different components and you put them together. Whereas in electronics, you're actually building individual components that then at a macro level get put together. I don't know if that helps.
And if I can just jump in real fast, our next AutoCAD electrical community conversation is May 12th at what time is that, Sean? Let's see if I can grab the time here. It
I think it's
is
the same time, 8 a.m.
Same time as this one, 11 a.m. Eastern on May 12th. So that'll be the AutoCAD electrical community conversation. If you want to kind of do a comparison between the two, you could jump into that one as well.
I've attended a lot of those, and
Have you?
I like those. They're good.
Yeah, Tiffany does a good job.
Yes, absolutely. Tiffany and Tiffany now.
Yep, Tiffany and Tiffany.
So if someone were to just design like a bathroom fan, you know, like ordinary fan for a bathroom, they would be more interested in a Fusion electronic product. Would that be correct?
That would be correct, right? Because they would be designing the electronics to drive the motor of the fan and things like that. Now, if they wanted to determine how to best hook up 30 fans within a building or within an installation, then that's AutoCAD Electrical.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, everything you see in Jasper's background, all the devices there, that's something we can do in Fusion. And yeah, if you want to connect different devices like a motor and controller from one room to another, then you would take AutoCAD Electrical, for example, I guess. So yeah.
And I used to use AutoCAD Electrical for machine control panels and things.
Yes, and for right, yeah.
Fusion is used alone, is that right? Or do you need to have AutoCAD to use Fusion?
No, Fusion is standalone.
Okay. And it's kind of an invention program, right? The 3D kind of invention?
Correct. It's used for product development is the idea. So let's say I want to design the latest cell phone. Obviously a cell phone is going to have, you know, an enclosure, but it's going to have all the electronics inside of it. So the idea is that Fusion itself would eventually be able to design a product like that, just totally within that tool.
And are people using 3D printers with Fusion?
Yes. Oh,
Yes.
Mostly, huh?
Yes.
Probably.
a lot of 3D printing with Fusion.
Yeah, for
And Fusion is
manufacturing.
well suited to it.
Right.
I have wanted to design a new bathroom fan, but I don't think it would be particularly easy for me at all. It just.
But it's a good. I think it would be a good challenge. It would be a good challenge, I guess. We should do a competition. Everybody has to design a bathroom fan.
A better bathroom fan. The better bathroom fan. That would be a good one to ask the Autodesk University to incorporate.
Okay, cool.
Stay tuned on that, Richard.
What? I didn't get it.
You said that would be a good challenge?
It would be a good challenge, yes, to do this. And
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Yes.
Keep your eyes on the forums.
Yes. Good idea. Yep, but yeah, that's true. A challenge, electronics challenge would be cool. Okay. Anything else we could help you with, or do you have any other? Fritjo. Hi, Fritjo. One of our colleagues joined. Nice to have you here.
Hey everyone.
Hi there. So he's actually one of our colleagues who is doing a lot of support with customers. And yes, somebody mentioned the forums as a very good source of information. So it's really, if you have questions about electronics design, all the other Fusion forums in all other areas as well. But they're really good. So if you have questions, I can only speak for the electronics forum. You will meet not only other users, you will meet some dev guys. We have some guys participating from QA in the forums, helping out with everything you could imagine. So it's really, really nice to go in there. You will find answers. I know sometimes it takes a bit. And the process is so, but everything is read. So even if nobody replies immediately, it's read, and we always try to bring this up in our meetings with the dev team, with product management. You also, from time to time, you see comments or answers from the PMs we have. So it's really, it's a very good place to talk about fusion electronics, not only asking for help, also sharing problems, searching for advice, whatever it is. So a good place there. Okay. Any other questions? If not, I don't know what, Chris, what you want to end with. I would like to mention the Fusion Insider program, maybe, if somebody is interested in. Do you want to mention it, or is it? Do you have a slide for it?
I'll let you do that. I don't have a slide for that one.
Okay, nor do I. I have a slide, but not prepared. Sorry, but there's something, and I really encourage you, if you want to. It's called the Fusion Insider program. It's not only electronics; it's for all areas. But it would be great to have more people, more electronics people participating in the Fusion Insider program. What you get, or what do you? What's the benefit for you? You get insights into the new releases. Approximately 2 or 3 weeks before a release comes out. So you can look into it, you can test the new features, you have direct contact to the dev team. So if there's something going wrong, or you have some proposals, whatever it is, some feedback, it's highly appreciated and read. So I'm sorry, I don't have the URL handy, but it's search for Fusion Insider.
Actually,
you will find it. Yeah.
If you go into the Fusion forums, there's a sticky post at the top of the Fusion Design Forum where Kaching gives the link and how to sign up. So if anybody's interested in that, just jump into the Fusion Design Forum and you'll see it at the top of the page.
I just put the link in the chat.
Oh, okay. Well,
thank
thanks,
you very
Sean.
much. Yes, very good. Thanks,
Sean's
Sean.
on top of it.
Yes.
I'll also put this in the event notes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I
one
have
more
one question.
Yeah.
Can I ask one more question? Hopefully it's quick. Oh, why would someone use Fusion over Solidworks? I've heard a lot about Solidworks in the last several years. Can anyone maybe? I guess they're a competitor of AutoCAD.
So they're a direct competitor of Fusion 360 in the sense of the mechanical modeling.
Right.
SolidWorks strictly does mechanical modeling, whereas Fusion 360 does mechanical modeling plus electronics. Now, the chat you're in is we're electronics specialists, so we're not the best people to talk about the mechanical differences of the two tools. I know from the little I know on that front is the approaches are a little bit different, but for most, for the most common use cases, you could use either one. Once you start going to like really sophisticated mechanical modeling, then maybe the differences become more apparent. But that's as much as I can speak to that subject, just because it's not my forte. It's not my specialty.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I also can't help you.
Okay. I just wonder because I mean, you could probably even.
Yeah,
So,
from the electronics perspective, I can say it's unique to have really this connection between ECAD and AMCAD in Fusion. So you don't have to export data and convert it. It's just you're working with one set of data in electronics and mechanics, and I guess that's unique. Of course, there are tools they connect also together, but you always have to use two tools. I have an ECAD tool and I have Solidworks, for example. They work together, but it's not as neat and nice as it would be in Fusion.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. You're welcome. Okay.
All right. Well, I'm going to wrap up with a couple of quick slides here. I just put into the chat a link to today's session, to the Community Conversations calendar, and also to a proposal sheet if you are interested in becoming a speaker for a community conversation. We'd love to hear from you. There's a sheet in the link there where you can sign up for whatever kind of class you're interested in proposing, or you can reach out to Sean directly. I've got his email on the slide there, and talk a little bit more about, like what type of thing we're looking for, what you would like to do. So we hope to see you in the community in the future. We talked a lot today about the forums, so I thank you, Richard, for plugging the forums for us. I spent a lot of time in the Fusion and Inventor forums, so if you jump in there, you'll see me from time to time. I don't answer too many questions in Fusion because that is not my area of expertise, but I'm learning a little bit at a time. So we're going to share also here some links to a number of community resources that you can take advantage of. I'm going to put those in the chat right now. So here's a huge long list. Bookmark as many of them as you would like to. We have our community journal blog, which is our blog from the community team for you. We also have our Community Voices blog, which is a blog by the community for the community, where community members themselves are writing all of the articles. We have our community groups, our student group hub, and of course, don't forget to check out upcoming community conversations. And that is it. Thank you. As I mentioned at the beginning, a video will be available shortly and a survey as well. We would really love to hear your feedback on this session and how it went, what we could do differently in the future, and what we did well today. So with that, thank you everyone for coming. Thanks, Richard. Thanks, Jorge.
Thank you very much.
See you next month.
See you next month.
Looking forward. Take care, guys.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Thank you, everybody. That was awesome.
Bye.